Okay, we're standing on the back side of the Samuel Augsburger home, and you were telling me there used to be a summer kitchen.
Used to be one right out here, yeah.
And that's you can do your cooking and not make it so hot in the house because those stoves can really make it hot in the summer.
Oh yeah.
We're going to give you a treat. We're going to go inside this house right now, and people can during certain hours during the exhibit. Of course, they can come here and come themselves. So I hope this will tempt you to come. You can see the beautiful back porch. The stories that if this house could talk, could tell us, because we were talking about this being an important entry point for Amish and Mennonites coming from Europe, right? And poor Christian Augsburger, the founder of this community, maybe if he had picked a different area, this could have been the Holmes County of today, but it's Butler County, and nobody thinks of Amish in Butler County. Let's go inside and we can show people. And in some ways, this house, what strikes me is in some ways it's not that much different than an Amish home today. You're going to see a lot of similarities to what you've seen on other videos with us. So come on in. We have this
would be a kitchen at one time.
Okay.
But a lot of it has been sort of changed. We have some old furniture. These are not necessarily from the house, which Augsburger had here, but it's from other people in the community who have given pieces of old furniture from the 19th century and other kinds of things.
Okay. Okay.
So,
now you were telling me we're going to go to a big room. There's a meeting going on right now, but it can be used for to this day. This is the big room, and you see big rooms today in Amish homes because they worship in the home.
Yes.
And this room was perfectly conducive to a large worship service. At its peak, how large was this Amish community?
I'm not sure how large it was. Only one church.
Okay.
So it was probably less than 100 Amish versus less than 100 Mennonites, or roughly that, maybe several hundred at least, at the most. But that wouldn't have counted the children.
That's true.
Because they were not members oftentimes yet. So I don't know, it varied quite a bit. But there were some people who came who became Presbyterian almost right away.
They became Presbyterian, really? Well, that's interesting. You usually hear Amish turning and going in the Mennonite church. But what's the Presbyterian connection?
Well, there are a lot of Presbyterians around here. It was very important in history of this time. But certainly a lot of them were influenced by other people who were here. They had to work with them because there were not that many Amish who were here. So they had to work with others that came.
Okay. And
right down the road, about a half mile down the road, is the home of Christian Yutzi.
Common Amish last name.
Yeah, it's I-U-T-Z-I.
Oh, really? It's a slightly different spelling.
In German, it was J-U-T-Z-I, which would be Yutzi in German, and Jutzi, in English. But they spelled it Yutzi when they came over to kind of fit in a little bit. But there are a lot of Amish who are still left who start that name with a Y.
Yes, that's what I'm familiar with.
It's widespread. And when we tell them about it here, they say, oh, maybe I'm related to them. And they could well be.
Interesting.
Because there are a lot of connections like that.
Now, is the kitchen in this home, is it preserved?
Not really.
Well, we'll go look at some of them.
There's a little kitchen back here.
Okay.
This at one time was a kitchen right here.
Right here was the kitchen. This is the hallway. Grand entrance, which, it's beautiful woodwork that you see in this house.
Yes, this remains from the building of the house, and this one's probably we would call it a dining room now. There's also a fireplace in this room.
Okay, so this, how would you say, would the Augsburgers, by standard of living standards back then, were they a well-off group of people?
I think they were. When Christian Augsburger came, he started buying land. When he died with 12 children, he and his wife had 12 children, and when he died, he didn't leave a will. But there was enough land that each of the children could get at least 160 acres. He had almost 2,000 acres that he had put together.
The whole area, basically.
Yeah. And much of this area was Amish at that time.
Now there's irony that across the street from here is the Butler County Sheriff's target practice range. They're pacifists, the Amish are as pacifists as you can get. And Christian might be rolling over in his grave in the back.
But he's buried right out there. We like to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what?
He didn't know this house either directly, but I think he would like it too.
His son.
Yeah.
And actually, you were talking about the spelling of Jutsi. This shows for you can actually catch the spelling. I have not seen it spelled that way. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Notice the piano. It's in the other room there.
And tell me briefly about, because the Amish generally don't.
Would not have a piano.
Exactly.
Let alone use one in the house. No, indeed.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, that's this other group. You know, they were kind of Mennonite. They were kind of Amish. But back in the early part of the 19th century, it was not always clear. You see, being Old Order Amish really developed toward the end of the 19th century. Just being Amish of background, certainly they were well known in France. They were known, the Amish were praised for the good agriculture they do. But when the Jutsis came, the one who lived about a half mile down the road here, and that place is still there, when he came, and he and his family came, they brought a piano. They wanted to continue the education of their children as they were traveling, let alone come here and add to it, because they probably heard of the United States as being, well, pioneer place and all that. And that's probably one of the things that came between the Amish and those who came later, who were more Amish Mennonite or something. It's not always clear, but anyway, that kind of difference of identification and difference of things that they did would have kept them from becoming close friends. But somehow, Christian Augsburger and Christian Jutsi did become friends. They were neighbors, and somehow worked together. We don't have any pictures, of course, of Christian Augsburger. But this piano is sort of a reference of that connection. You know. That's
interesting. And we were talking that in the end, what did this community in was sort of, there was a progressive wing, an old order wing, and they couldn't come together.
And the numbers were not large enough.
Yeah.
You have many Amish communities. In fact, this is called a failed Amish community by the Amish. But you need certain numbers. You need to have more than one family, more than two families. You need to have enough to create not only a church community, but also enough to keep growing.
And you need to have a consistent ideology, because if you divide, then so they never attained the critical mass here that you need to sustain a community. That's too bad, because I only live about 15 minutes from here, and I could have had an Amish community in my own backyard. Well, thank you so much for giving us this tour, and I hope you come down, come to Chrisholm during the exhibit and take a look here, because this really is a rare opportunity. I know a lot of Greater Cincinnatians watch this, and on the website you can come half hour to your north and see a great opportunity. So thank you for preserving this for everybody. And,
can I show you one more thing? We have a couple of displays.